And there you see a discussion out of that Florida courtroom surrounding the question of exactly what statements are going to be allowed into this trial as part of the evidence in the case against FSU student Nicole Nachtman. Joined now by trial attorneys Terri Austin and Ecleynne Mercy. Grateful to have both of you with us today. Guys, I want to get a little bit of perspective. From the attorney's perspective, it can seem, to the outsider, I'll say this, it can seem so minutia about, which little pieces are admitted, which little pieces are left out. But from an attorney's perspective, this can really be the gold mine. What you get in, what keeps out, that sort of thing. Isn't that right?
Absolutely, because it'll make or break your case. So, the jury is trying to figure out if she was indeed insane at the time of the murder.
Right.
So at this point, we need everything. We need to know what she was saying beforehand, what she was saying afterwards, to really get into the mindset she had at the time she killed her parents.
And Terri, I believe you and I were together earlier in this week when there was testimony from a cousin that was beginning to paint this picture of sort of a broader streak of mental illness across sort of Nicole's broader family. How do you think jurors are beginning to sort of assemble their picture? We even heard from would-be roommates of Nicole who they knew her for a matter of hours before all of this unfolded, but they were kind of saying, a little strange. How are they assembling this picture of a defendant?
What the defense wants to do here is to show that the defendant has some sort of mental illness. She's not like everyone else.
Right.
She might even be schizophrenic.
Right.
And so these are defenses to the murder of her parents, and that's what the defense wants to show.
It's going to be a lot of work going on, we know, in this courtroom. It is something that we are following live throughout the day. We are, of course, also on verdict watch in the Rosenbaum case up in the state of Georgia. Lots happening here, and we will be monitoring it all. We'll take you back to the courtroom live as soon as any developments happen. For now, stay with us here on the Law&Crime Trial Network. There you hear it, the judge denying that motion for a mistrial, but the three of us in this studio right now all a little bit shocked that this would even be occurring, especially in such a high-profile trial. Journalist for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a very well-respected newspaper. It surprises the three of us, all of whom have had courtroom experience. I can say, as a journalist who's covered many trials, I have never had an inkling to go near a juror who I recognized from in that courtroom. And in fact, it's sort of avert the gaze, stay away. What's your sense, I'll start with you, Ecleynne, of how this all unfolded and how it could have happened?
It just makes my spirit weary. My thing is you have a reporter that's just so overzealous. And as soon as you leave that courtroom, the jurors don't exist. I act like I don't know them. You're supposed to act like you don't see them. However, the judge did a excellent job. He was caught in a catch-22.
Right.
And Judge Amato is one of the most respected judges in Georgia. And here's the thing, if he excused the juror, you set a precedent for mistrials. If you excuse the juror, now the juror is not is not sequestered, and he could testify. I mean, he can talk to reporters and things of that nature. But if you keep him impaneled, but make him the alternate, we still can move on with trial.
Sure.
But if he grants a mistrial, that sets a precedent. Every time we have a high-profile case, let a reporter go and talk to a juror.
And suddenly everything goes off the rails.
Exactly. So he knew there was no winning to it. When they asked the question, everybody was subpoenaed. Everybody had to take the oath. So under oath, no real information was provided.
Right.
So that was a good thing. However,
that was enough to get him there.
Absolutely.
It sounds like. And Terri, is that your perspective too? I mean, this judge sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. Obviously, you cannot have journalists tampering with, getting involved in this jury in any way, but you also heard him how much money and effort and time has been put into this. Do you think he made the right call on this?
I do think the judge made the right decision here. The journalist should have known better. Never do you go up to a witness and speak to that witness, or rather to a juror and speak to that juror. And the journalist asked the juror a question, and the juror answered their question. The question was something about how long are the deliberations, and the juror said something about it's going to be a while. So the judge made the right decision. The journalist was wrong, and the juror is now in a difficult, precarious position.
Yeah, and actually, this issue with the AJC reporter and that particular juror, not the only little bit of outside drama that was impacting this case. You know, here at Law and Crime Trial Network, we have numerous attorneys and trial attorneys, people who practice law, come through here on a regular basis as hosts and guests. Judge Ashley Wilcott, one of our regulars here, got involved in some of this yesterday or earlier this week. I believe it was yesterday, Ecleynne, regarding commentary that she'd made here on our network and trying to be careful about separating that from what was happening in the courtroom. What do you make of that, Ecleynne?
I loved her response. It was like, don't come for me lest I send for you. She basically put down that she got, that she did help impanel the jury. However, she got leave. She got the right, you know.
She had dotted her I's and crossed her T's, which is what we require of folks
absolutely.
here. Yeah.
So she's like, the bus will not be turned on me. So I think she did a great job about responding to that.
So, guys, the thing I'm wondering, you know, I guess the jury is not seeing any of this backroom drama that's unfolding. Is that, I mean, Terri, they would be kept away from all of this, right? So they're not witnessing.
That's right. You don't want the jury to be prejudiced and seeing these arguments back and forth. And the role of the judge is to make sure he's making the right decisions on these motions and that he's keeping evidence out that he should keep out and evidence in that should go in. So this is something the jury should not see.
Exactly, but Ecleynne, we know they've seen at least pieces of it because one of those jurors was excused, and we have a alternate put in their place, and then deliberations completely restarted from scratch. So as much as we try to insulate them from all of this, they're seeing a bit of it.
Absolutely, and you know, they're not locked in a cave, you know, with cell phones and all these other things and people talking about it. So we don't know what they know, what they don't know. Again, we hope that they really adhere to the judge's instructions in the sense that not to Google.
Don't look anywhere else.
However, pillow talk is real, so we don't know what the jury.
We can never know.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, lots to talk about here. It's a busy day on the Law and Crime Trial Network, and we will have much more when we return right after this break. All right, right there on the stand, witness for the defense, Dr. Charles Ewing, a forensic psychologist, talking, Terri and Ecleynne, about his assessment of Nicole's mental health condition. And I think totally apart from the guilt or innocence in this trial, it is a troubling portrait of this young woman going through the symptoms of schizophrenia, mostly talking there about delusion and the delusion that he believed she was living with is really hard to hear about, right?
To listen to this witness's testimony, you absolutely come to the conclusion that she's hearing voices, that she is schizophrenic, and that something is seriously wrong with her. What I would say, however, is when this witness is cross-examined by the prosecution, the question really is, well, was she ever diagnosed with schizophrenia? Has she shown these signs before the murders occurred?
Yeah, did it ever become official? What's your take, Ecleynne? Because some of it is so, you know, you hear this doctor talking about her having the attitude that pretty much everyone is out to get me. How does this land for you?
I think that they're doing it really sets the tone. She has been diagnosed, even afterwards, she has been diagnosed, or she's been exhibiting the behaviors the symptoms of schizophrenia since she was a child. So you have an undiagnosed, untreated schizophrenia, and piled on with abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, and just maybe possibly sexual abuse as the witness testified.
So many things to consider. All right, guys. Big developments there in that Florida courtroom in the trial of Nicole Nachtman. We are monitoring it all for you. We ask you to stay with us here on the Law and Crime Trial Network. We'll be right back after this break.